Welcome to Mission Possible, delivering cleaner fuel today. Brought to you by CEMA, Connecticut Energy Marketers Association, representing 600 family-run home heating fuel companies in Connecticut and the greater New England region. Today's episode was recorded live from the Southern New England Energy Conference in Newport, Rhode Island, and highlights how our members are delivering a cleaner, greener fuel today. The energy in this room really is something. We have people from all over New England talking about the energy future and the liquid fuel industry, and it really is an exciting time to be in the industry. I'd like to welcome our next guest. Here we have with us Steven Levy. Tell us a little bit, Steven, about your title, your company. Set the stage for us.
Thank you very much, Shelly. Thank you for having me in Sprague. Yes, I am Steven Levy, Managing Director at Sprague. Sprague's corporate office is in Portsmouth. Our footprint is from Maine to Baltimore to Pittsburgh to Quebec.
Wow.
And we have a rich 150-year history, beginning the company in 1870. And as we continue to evolve over those years, we continue to evolve today with products, programs, and services to meet the needs of our customers, which include wholesalers, commercial accounts, government accounts, and a full array of different types of industries.
So how many people do you service in the area? That's quite the region.
We service about 20,000 different customers, and again, a full array of products, whether it's traditional fuels, such as heating oil, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, kerosene, to renewables, biodiesel and renewable diesel, to solar panels, to natural gas, electricity, and we have a very large material handlings area where we can handle at our terminals for anything from windmills to paper to salt.
Wow. So you've really evolved with the times. You've changed with the times. More specifically, though, I'd like to do a deeper dive too into the liquid fuel part, more specifically home heating fuel. How has your business changed in that aspect or in general? I'll let you hit the points.
Sure. So, we've been around a long time and it's changed dramatically. Heating oil has come from very high sulfur to very low sulfur to hopefully being a very low non-carbon fuel. So we started with different types of heating oil, 2, 4, and 6 oil, as many of our listeners know. And sulfur has been reduced in those fuels over the years with the introduction of ultra-low sulfur fuels, which Sprague was a pioneer in 2000, commercializing ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel. Sulfur continues to be removed, but also in 2000, Sprague began with supplying biodiesel. And from that period, spending a lot of time with biodiesel, continue to reduce the sulfur in fuel, becoming more renewable, more sustainable, and now evolving into renewable diesel.
So explain to me, we have talked about this in previous episodes, but it's always good to keep repeating in case we have new listeners. Why is it so important and beneficial to remove the sulfur from the oil? What does that do?
Well, it's not only beneficial to remove the sulfur for clean burning and a lower polluting fuel, but it's hugely important today, especially over the last decade, to be more sustainable, to have a lower carbon fuel. And moving to biodiesel or renewable diesel helps us achieve those goals to also be able to provide the customer options for their technology and how they heat their homes and their buildings in the future.
And the biodiesel is mixed with the ultra low sulfur fuel. And you said you were a pioneer in the biodiesel industry as well.
Yeah, so
Talk about that.
well,
That's
first,
fascinating.
first the biodiesel, yes, in the beginning there was a 5% blend, and then there was a 10%, 20%, and now many people are going to a 50%, 100% biodiesel. Yes, we became a pioneer in the lower sulfur fuels. Keep in mind, we need to evolve and we need to keep our customers at the forefront as well. And over the years, there's a lot of different choices, and sometimes for competitive reasons or because people want to become more sustainable, new technologies evolve. Ultra-low sulfur was one of them to remove the sulfur out of the fuel. One of the reasons for it is that the EPA had a goal in transportation fuels to use diesel particulate filters in trucks and all diesel engines. And in around late 90s, we started to experiment with ultra-low sulfur. And then in 2000, we committed to it in New York. And we had a large customer at the time that did a big volume. They were our anchor tenant. And from there, a lot of other agencies and companies started to use the lower fuel, which also enabled us to blend it with biodiesel as well.
So wait, that interesting is fascinating. So the home heating fuel industry was technically following, you said diesel trucks, so they were using the filtered process to lower the sulfur there. Did I get that right or did I get that wrong?
No, what happened was with the ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, helped create a pathway to go to ultra sulfur heating oil, and over time, sulfur ultra low sulfur heating oil became the norm in the marketplace, which became even more beneficial when you were blending it with biodiesel and now renewable diesel as well. And the key now is not only can you burn high high percentages of biodiesel, but you can burn 100% of renewable diesel as well into furnaces and boilers.
So what's the difference between biodiesel and renewable?
Now that's a great question.
Because I didn't realize there was a specific difference.
Yes, there is. It's a great question, and a lot of people think that renewable diesel is biodiesel. What is the same is the same feedstocks that go into making biodiesel and renewable diesel. Use cooking oil, chicken tallow, fat, soybean oil. Those are the feedstocks that go into both products. The only difference is to make biodiesel, it goes through an esterification process. And when you're um, finished making that blended product that comes out as biodiesel, it's an ASTM spec for biodiesel, 6751. When you make renewable diesel, it goes through the same refining process as a fossil fuel, only it comes out as renewable diesel. And it's not a fossil fuel, and it burns a lot cleaner, as does biodiesel.
So there's similarities, but still differentialities.
Yes, feedstocks are the same. Other things are different. When you're burning it, you still reduce emissions. Nora, who is our partner, and thank goodness for Nora in our industry, they're doing their testing on straight biodiesel, straight renewable diesel, different blends with biodiesel and renewable diesel.
Right. And some of that testing is also happening in Connecticut let me explain. Connecticut Energy Marketers Association. We are a nonprofit organization where we promote and defend the industry. We have 600 home heating oil companies under our umbrella and also distributors like yourself. And we have been testing at our school B100 to see how it works. We have an outside tank to test the elements and see how it works, all done by Nora. So this is very beneficial to see our product under the conditions of New England and see how it works. Right now, status quo is what, B5 up to B20 seems to be the common denominator when we're talking about the blended fuel, correct? But you said you do have people that are using B50, 50% biodiesel?
There are wholesalers that are marketing B50, and people are using it. And for the last 8 years, we know a couple of people that are using B100. So it's very
It's doable.
promising.
It's happening.
It's happening. Yes, it is.
And do you feel like there is a lot of misinformation out there about what home heating oil is and why it's so important for us to be talking today about the product and how it's different?
I don't think it's just misinformation. I think it's just an education process, which is a challenge for us. And it's not just for wholesalers and users of home heating oil, but it's also it's our legislators and people that are now looking at the clean fuel standards, and in New York, clean fuel standard, and a Cap and Invest, and a meeting tomorrow up in Boston thinking about a low carbon fuel standard. So it's about education and having them understand that there are both alternatives to electrification, as well as options for the users. So it's an education process.
I like that. It is an education process, and I know a lot of people who heat their homes with home heating fuel, and when I tell them about what's in their tank, they're surprised. And I think part of that is because people are used to getting, if you want something new or it's going to help the environment, the first question is, well, what's it going to cost me? And we have the technology with this biodiesel, renewable, regular, ultra low sulfur heating home fuel. You use what you have, right? In Connecticut, 50% of people use home heating fuel. So they don't really notice it because they didn't have to pay for an upgrade. And upgrading to electric appliances, you name it, heat pumps, it's expensive. So you can use this fuel, which is better for your home, for the economy, for the environment, without paying anything to upgrade. Like, that's pretty remarkable that people in the industry were able to figure that out.
Well, it is, and what's great about it, especially for renewable diesel, it's a drop-in fuel, whether it's for transportation or for boilers, and you don't have to do anything to the boiler or the engine or what have you. It's the same thing with biodiesel for an in-ground tank, and as testing continues, this year and so on, people will be more educated, maybe be more comfortable to put in B100 in the outside tanks as well. But I think the key is educating the policymakers and the legislators so they understand this is another solution in the toolbox, and for those that can't, at least a transition fuel until people go to the electrification economy.
Anything else you want to say then? So, would you say that's your biggest concern facing the industry today? Our electrification efforts. We're seeing it in Massachusetts. We're here in Rhode Island, same thing. Connecticut, we've been successful in defeating a lot, but neighbors around us, not so much. So this is a big concern for the industry.
It's a concern, but I think as we educate people and people understand that this is a real sustainable solution, um, it'll be accepted. And people are realizing now, especially our policymakers and legislators, that you can't flip a switch. And we want to reduce emissions today. There are people that still have asthma and getting sick. Uh, but you know what? If we wait to flip the switch, it's going to be who knows how many decades until we're able to do that. And not just, on the heating side, but on the transportation side as well. So here's a way to either transition or accept it as a full solution, which we believe you can have in that zero home or a building.
And happening, as you said today, not decades in the future.
Happening today, and it is happening, and it's just a question of getting the word out there, and again, using that word again, education.
Steve, I don't know if you'd like to talk a little bit about some of the customers under your umbrella. It sounds like you have a lot of them,
Sure.
but this is obviously one of the reasons as well that you're in business for, is to help those who need help keeping their homes warm in the winter, right? Let's face it, it's cold in New England. This isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. What do your customers mean to you in your business?
Well, look, Sprague's been around for 150 years plus, and the reason why they're around is really two reasons. One, Sprague continues to invest in its assets, in its terminals and inventory, and its trucks, its people, and equipment, as well as listening to what the customer's needs are. If you go back 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, um, a wholesaler or somebody that worked in a governmental organization or a commercial account, everybody had, their own bailiwick. But now everybody has to be a jack of all trades, and it's hard. They need to lean on their suppliers. And many of our products, but more importantly, our programs and our services help make Sprague accountable for what they do in their operations to make them more efficient and more profitable. And, when you look at what we've done, I mean, we made big investments in being able to blend. We were one of the first ones to do the acculoaders, to blend biodiesel back, in the early 2000s to make sure that you got a homogeneous, correct blend so the customers got what they paid for. We continue to do that now with reformulated diesel. You might have a customer that might want a certain percentage biodiesel, a certain percentage renewable diesel, and maybe they need some winterization to go with that. You just can't snap your fingers and it happens overnight. And that's one of I guess one of the examples of, how we've brought products to markets over the years too. It wasn't just ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, but we were one of the first with biodiesel. Um, I was honored to serve as the chair of the National Biodiesel Board, which is now Clean Fuels Alliance, for a couple of years. We were also the first BQ 9000, which is Clean Fuels Alliance quality control program, first terminal marketer back in 2006 in our Rensselaer terminal. We got recognized for putting solar panels on our tanks, and now we're marketing and selling solar panels, flexible panels to go on curvature surfaces and so on. So we were
Well,
finding
that's fascinating. So tell me, you're putting solar panels on tanks.
people are when people think of solar, they think about the traditional heavy panels. Um, when we're looking to be, we're 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 very sustainable company. So we were looking for ways for ourselves to be more sustainable. So not only do we use renewable diesel throughout our whole, our trucking fleet, but we want to do more in our terminals. So we looked into it, and we committed to these solar panels that are about a quarter-inch thick. They're flexible. They go on top of the rounded tanks. And then after a while, we said, you know what, we should go do this ourselves. So we invested in it, and now we're marketing it. So we're finding those niches that can not only help ourselves, but our customers.
And you said your trucks, your fleet also use renewable biodiesel?
Yes, we do. We have unique thing about Sprague. As I mentioned, our footprint. We're from Maine to Baltimore, to Pittsburgh to Quebec, and within that, we have many different types of customers. And so within there, in Lower New York and Northern New Jersey, Connecticut, we'll operate our own fleet. And then we have exclusive agreements with certain carriers, and then we use common carrier for others. So not only do we have our own delivery fleet in the tri-state area, but we also have a service business with vans and so on to do service for buildings.
Well, from what I understand, some people are saying that renewable biodiesel is hard to use in vehicles, but it sounds like you're saying, how
To the
does
co-
that happen?
to the contrary. So renewable diesel has been used all over the world for at least 10, 12 years. It's been the go-to product in California. 70% today of the diesel in California is renewable diesel. Well, we like to call it renewable fuel, and because with some EJ communities they don't like the word diesel, so call it renewable fuel. And it's proven. It's a proven product. Again, it's a drop-in fuel, and it's price parity in California because they have a low carbon fuel standard. But we use it here. There's many customers in the Mid Atlantic states that are using it, such as the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey committed to it in May of 2023 when we committed to it, and it's it's an excellent product.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up in a little bit, but I do want to give you an opportunity. Anything you'd like to tell us about customers or any stories that come to mind of the people that you've helped? You have such a broad reach, so just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, we're helping some of the wholesale customers that want to be more sustainable. So they're even starting with renewable diesel in their fleet, and they're looking to, we want to call it renewable fuel in their fleet,
Yes.
and looking to expand it into boilers, and to some of their customers. So it's just starting to happen and evolve in some small steps. But it's not just the wholesalers as well looking to market it. There are several um, Fortune 500 companies that want to be more sustainable. And they're also looking to do with biodiesel and or renewable diesel or both. And the key is giving them the products and the wherewithal so they can implement it and have a successful store.
And what was the motivation behind changing the way you did business? Is it from a personal place? Is it changing with the times? Where does this come from within you and your company?
It comes from both. So the solar story comes from within the company, wanting to be more sustainable, and then being able to see an opportunity with it to share it with other companies. Um, but also, it really, everything that we've done over the years has come from our customers, what their needs are. Oh, this would be great if I could do this. This would be good if I could do that. And a lot of them don't have the wherewithal to do that. So it's almost like, we're part of their company. We're a consultant. We're an employee. So we're helping them to survive, or we're helping them to thrive and stay in business and, for generations to come as well. And a lot of people compare the wholesale community, heating oil community, to farmers. Farmers have had farms for generations. Well, heating oil companies here in the Northeast, the same. And they continue to do that. And, we want to help them continue to thrive.
Well, thank you so much. Let's wrap it up with a few words to describe the future. How would you describe the future of the industry then in a few words?
I see the opportunities there as we continue to do our research and prove that we have a low carbon fuel that can be used or transition to a zero carbon home and building. Yes, transitioning with perhaps solar, and other products. But I think the future is bright for this fuel. And as you said before, there's so many people that use heating oil, and that they have no opportunity to use any other technology. So here we are, and we look forward to the future.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day today, Stephen, to speak with us. We really appreciate it. And, stay in touch. We'd love to hear more, whatever, new exciting things happening your way. Please keep us in the loop because this was a great interview and I really appreciate your time. And hopefully you get out and enjoy some of the sights here in Newport.
Thank you. Thank you for
I love Newport. I love Rhode Island. I love New England, right? Who doesn't?
do.
All right. Yes, we all do. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Mission Possible. Be sure to tune in next time to hear more stories on how our members are making a difference. We'll see you then.